we shall draw. So let me go out to, let me leave my student view of that course and jump into 1108. I don't really need to be in this course other than just to show you that I'm doing the Geneva Cam here, right? And I did post at least part one video from yesterday's up, and I'll post this one when I get done. So let's jump back into CAD. This is where we left off together. I think I'd finished and we did the hatching. Yeah, so we used our hatch layer, our section layer. It should be called hatch, but we do call that layer the section layer that we put those on. So I made sure when I made my hatch, if I go back into this real quick, just to repeat, that I did choose it to be annotative. This will do the same thing that your text does. Is that this hatching can, if you jump out and scale your drawing, and it could become just an ugly mass if it's all the hatching stays really tight and small, and it won't even look like hatching. And then if I go big, I might see the grid. Anyway, it'll adjust size wise so that you can clearly tell that it's a hatched area. So I like to make it annotative for that reason because I don't know what my scale was going to be at. We sat there and beat ourselves up a little bit about this, and so these were polylines that we created these arrows at, and I think I'm going to jump into that and just address what I told you is if you create them in here, like I use my polyline and I made my width 0.08 because that's double the width of a normal arrow. This thing needs to be a double size arrow. So I used a polyline and I set the width at 0 or 0.08, and then I set the length at and then that was the starting width, and then the ending width was 0, and then it wants to know how long it is. So when you choose polyline and width, it's going to want to know like a start width and an end width, and then how long it is. So it's like 3 inputs on this arrow essentially. And so it was 0.08 to start, 0 to end, and then it's a quarter of an inch long. So that is technically, if my drawing was 1:1, I could just leave that alone. This doesn't fit on my B-size sheet at 1:1, so I need to worry about it needing to be I need it to be annotative, essentially. I need it to be automatically adjust the size. So I'm just going to do a block. So remember, like, your block is your friend. We don't do a ton of blocks. We've done one. We did title block. We haven't done any right blocks yet, but that's kind of how, when you go to the title blocks that are on these new templates that we're using, because I'm using the ISU templates, those title blocks were created with a right block. So they allow you to like input data and parameters and kind of make the block a smart block. I wish they'd call it smart block or something, but it's a right block, a W block. So we haven't done those yet, and I can't say I have any particular assignments that do that. Template people become really good with that, but because most templates and most title blocks are kind of like right blocks in CAD. So a W block. I'm just going to do a normal block. We've done one of these already. So what if we've drawn these? I've drawn two of them, but I'm just going to make one of them a block. And so I'm going to come in here and say I'm going to create a block. That's in the top here on my home tab. Create my block again. So create this thing. It wants to know like what the name of this is. So I'm going to give this a name of like I don't know, like a cutting plane arrow is what I'm going to call this. So it's a cutting plane, or it could be a section plane, but a cutting plane arrow. Give it some unique name, and then I get to pick a point on screen for this particular object. I'm going to pick kind of where I place it. I'm going to pick here. When I place this arrow, I think this is going to be a great place to place it. So right where it's going to meet the other line. And then I'm going to specify what objects. So I need to pick which objects I'm actually going to make a block out of. It's going to be this arrow if it will let me choose it. There it is. It's just that one arrow. I'm not going to do both. I'm just going to do one. One arrow is going to be my block. And then I'm going to make it annotative here. So, and sure, I think I always allow exploding always. It seems like it's my default always to keep that. It's default checked already. So I keep it. I just have to check that it's annotative. This is so it will auto adjust for me, I hope. So I'm going to say, okay, my block's in inches. Okay. And then it looks like nothing happened, but you should now have that under your insert tab. You should have access to that. I may have more show up than you do. It's probably towards the end of my list. There's my cutting plane arrow. And remember, I did that on my object on an object layer, and that is just so I don't get a weird line type show up. If that arrow gets big, if for whatever reason, when I scale my drawing, the arrow adjusts and it may show the line type if it's a different line type. So object just has a continuous line type and it's kind of a heavier line weight. I think it's 0.4 so millimeters. So I think that's just what I like to use. I can't say ASME has a standard on those or not, but the size they are. I just don't know what layer they want. I think they just want it as kind of a normal bold, not a light line, but just a dark line. So mine is a point. Mine is a visible object layer. So now I'm going to delete these things though, because these are kind of like non-annotative. Maybe I turn that one in, but I'm just going to make sure I delete the old ones that I had that I created my block from. So these were just kind of, oh yeah, you could do that too, right? You could convert to block. Yeah, like if you select that object and it'll be like convert to block. Yeah, and then it'll give you those, just make that block annotative, whatever it takes to get yourself an annotative one. So essentially now I have like a block for that. I'm ready. This one we were finished drawing yesterday. Well, kind of. Maybe we haven't finished center line. So the one before I jump over to dimension it and add my other stuff, I think I'm gonna add um, the center line. So I think we're pretty well ready on this one. We will add some once we start putting dimensions in for sure. So right now, at least on my front view here, I'm gonna call it the center lines are pretty much captured until I need some dimension lines. And then over here, I could add a few. So I have to remember when I took this section, I'm looking through some radiuses here, some radii. And so I'm going to add a center line across the middle here. And I'm going to add a center line, a horizontal center line for kind of the bottom of this radius too. And you know, it could be argued that I would add this center line over here. It's going to not look like it's very well centered if I add a center line for maybe this, and it would anyway. So I'm probably not going to add the center lines that have to do with these at odd angles. I'm going to get one of them because it's on the same plane. Center line is the main hub bore here. This one is so, but I don't think I'm going to add center lines to these. I'm just going to add them to these two where I've sectioned. I think this could be a little vague of which ones you need to add, but and of course we've determined that we're going to eliminate any hidden lines. I know that I'm looking that way, and I would see other hidden line all kinds of the points of these features would be projecting across and become a stash of hidden lines over here. We're just going to omit them because they just add confusion, not clarity. And our section view is designed to clarify things, especially internally, not add more clutter. So let's just go with this, and then but I'm going to add the center lines there. So what I could just project those across. That's probably the way I'm going to do it. Is I'm going to just say, well, I didn't ever project my center lines where they would go. So I'll just construct some. I would really need this center line. This is a center line that I'm going to have in this view over here. So I'm going to snap from it over across my part here. This will become a center line that will be through here and then extend the ASME standard past the object edges here. So I'll come back to that one. I'm going to have the main center line, this one, will also become through here and extend a 1/4 inch pass. And then I'm going to add this one down here like that. So if I just add those 3 center lines, I think that's a good start. So I'll add them just to center line itself. That's one. This is one. And this will be one. And then I just need to do the extensions on them here. I just grab these grips and pull them across, will work. Obviously, I've got a line type scale issue. They're not showing up as very, oh, this one finally started to break up for me, but I'll do that at the very end though, right? I do that after I've kind of dimensioned it and take one last look before I make the PDF that my line type scales look good. I don't do it yet because I really don't know what my drawing's scaled at yet. So yeah, this looks good. A few center lines. I think I mentioned that on my example, I might show a vertical center line. I think it's good. I think it's one of those debatable things on would everybody add it? Not necessarily. It kind of shows like down. I really feel like the reason why I've added it. If you look at my example on the canvas, it'll show a center line down through here. I really feel like it's because I'm almost treating this as a slot feature, and those slot features sometimes will carry out those. But not always, right? Like we've done some slots where I haven't carried the center line horizontally through the slot. So I carry it vertically, or I carry it in like the plan or the top view of it when I'm looking at the slot. I would always carry a center line through here generally when I look at it this way, but I don't always carry it when I look this way. So to me, I'm like, I have it on the example that I've shown. Is it necessary? Maybe not. So I'm going to just leave those three. These three I feel like are the most necessary center lines on our section view, and with this one being the most essential. So, but these just show me that I've got a rate. I mean, the section view is confusing. This helps me identify that there must be some radius feature of this surface that I'm looking at. And so this is communicating that there's a radius feature here, and it's the center of this radius is here, radii. Okay, enough of that. Let's dimension this thing. Let's try to figure out what scale I'm at. So I'm jumping over here, and I'm on my B size sheet. So I think I will start adjusting my scale. I'm at a 1-to-1 currently, but it's going to have to go smaller. And I think I've determined that, you could probably use a half scale. I mean, like on a real B-size sheet, or if this was really something, I think I brought up that this would probably be an actually good size and allow me to put some other parts on this print. Because we don't have any other parts, I think I'll make a larger scale. But 1-to-1's too large, 1/2's too fine. It's the Goldilocks scenario here. So let's make something that's just right. So I'm going to make a custom scale from my list. I'm going to add a custom scale, and I think I'll just jump to 3/4. I think that's what I made my other one. Not that I would know without some trial and error, but a 3/4 scale. And I'm going to say my paper units are 3/4 of my drawing units. So I think I've told you that I end up adding quite a few scales on some of these drawings. Maybe 5/8 is another one I use. Um, I try to probably keep my scales in eighths or quarters or halves, and I don't use 16 scales. I could if I needed to, if there was something that just fit just right. Um, this is an invalid scale number. Maybe do I already own it? Maybe have I already made it? Let me make sure I haven't, but I don't know what I did wrong. But I want it to appear as 3/4. I think it just doesn't like me that I use a ratio here. I think it likes 3/4, maybe as 0.75 or as a fraction. So I'm going to use it. It makes it great. It would be 0.75 because a 3/4 scale, 3/4 is 0.75. I actually just put in 3/4 like a fraction. So it didn't like me setting up a ratio though. So my ratio is what I wanted to display, just because all your scales are generally ratios displayed, right? So other than we've got the architectural ones down below with an equal sign, but I kept mine with a ratio. That's what I want to show up on my print as well. And it's just that it doesn't like a ratio when you define the paper units. It wants you to either do the decimal input or the fraction. Yeah. So yeah, I think so you're saying this is still too big, is what you're saying. You're saying I may not, and it could be true. I don't know what I haven't dimensioned yet to decide. Obviously, it's a little bit my viewport's not quite big enough yet. I'm gonna jam into my revision block a little bit. So yeah, you could be right. I could come back and say, is it a 5/8 scale that's a little bit better? I'll jump this over as wide as I can get it right now, at least to there. And I'm not gonna need probably this stuff here, but yeah, I do think it's a little tight. I don't know what I use. I haven't checked my but I kind of agree with you. I'm like, well, 3/4 scale. I can just add another one though. Let's do another. I'll add another scale and maybe I'll call it a 5/8. That would be the next one I would go down to just out of habit myself. Not that it's no, 5/8 is less than 3/4. That's why we're here to learn that. Yeah, 5/8, 3/8 is less than a half. 5/8 is just the other side of a half. Yeah, yeah. So this is 5/8. So I think I can just do 5 divided by 8 as my paper unit. Say okay. It doesn't like you to adjust those if you're on those scales. So I load it first and then I go pick it here like this. Yeah, maybe a 5/8 scale. It's probably gonna allow me to get my headings on my. Yeah, I do agree. This is a better scale. So I might just lock this down. Gives my revision block room to grow. I could move this closer if I need to. This isn't a bad, remember this was a total random distance. I wasn't sure if I was going to use one viewport or multiple because I never really, like I think I told you, going forward, I don't worry so much about like if I'm going to fit in the same viewport anymore because I just know I can make a new viewport, I can orthographically align it. It's kind of the end of story. So I just quit worrying about that so much. And and I just plan to add viewports when I need them, and I give myself space when I model them just to give myself space, and so I don't worry as much. Yeah, I quit worrying about that essentially, and just know that I can. But here it might be about right. Like it worked out for me here. If it doesn't work for you, or however far you place them, or if you put it too close, then yeah, we'll just make a new viewport. Of course, if I make things too close, before I even dimension it, I'll probably like, mass select this thing and make a copy. So if you ended up putting this too close to your object to dimension, because you will have a few dimensions out here, then just like make a copy of this thing and pull it out away to where you can get like a viewport that's nice and clean around it without anything interfering, and you can start to just dimension to that viewport, right? So I don't move these away. I kind of like to leave them. I like to make copies like this because when I've laid stuff out, I like to always know what I referenced when I laid it out. So if I'm going to move something, I usually make a copy of it to use it on a new viewport. That's just my habit. And it just keeps, because if I move it from there with my construction lines off, then what my construction lines make no sense when I turn them on. It's like, well, and here at least I can say, well, at one time, if this was wrong, I have like a frame of reference of where things maybe went wrong in my projections. And I could fix it over here again, especially when I do move it and make a copy, I do keep it orthographically aligned as well. So technically I can extend those over to it if I need to. So that's just the way I work. I don't like to eliminate construction work. It's like beneficial to me for revisions in the future. And so remember that, like you're not building something that's one and done. You're building something that may need to be revised in the future. So do yourself a favor and don't make it a mess to get into to fix it. Like try to keep yourself some awareness of where things came from, what I need to fix when I need to fix something, and make it easy on yourself. Yeah. So it might be easy to get the assignment done, copy moved or whatever, but then you come back and if you needed to revise it, it's a freaking wreck. So, and you will deal with people's drawings like that all the time. So you just don't want to be one of those people because you want other people are going to have to work from your work as well. And so you try to keep it clean, try to keep it understandable, and then you're really mad when somebody else doesn't return the favor. But such is life. Okay. I don't need to do this necessarily. I'll leave it over there, but really mine just happens to be randomly that it works pretty well. And so I just happened to luck out. And let's jump in here and do some dimensioning though. So the first thing I can do is add so I'm going into my viewport here. And whether you guys, you double click on the outside of the viewport to go into it, however you want to get into your viewports, that's one way to zoom in. You see me usually like get into my viewport and zoom right here on my status bar. Either way, zoom into that thing. Let's dimension it. I'm gonna add I'm gonna first add my arrows back in. So they're just there. I just have them on an insert tab here. So I'm gonna insert my blocks here. There's my cutting plane arrow. If it doesn't show up, sometimes I got to look through my recent blocks arrow. There it is. And then I'm gonna place it on my arrowhead now here, or sorry, on my cutting plane line. And then I'm going to place that thing again. I could have copied and moved one, but I'm just going to grab it and place two of those arrows. And then I'll just make sure they're working right. Like I plan them to be annotative so that they will kind of keep that double size 3-to-1 ratio. And so let me jump back out and just like flex my scale, right? So I'm going to unlock it for a minute and I'm just going to try a different, I'm just going to watch my arrow and see if it adjusts for me. So I'm going to go to 1-to-1. Of course, I couldn't see because of where I'm at on my drawing. And maybe I've got to jump in here and move it so I can just see. I'm just going to watch my arrows, make sure it's annotative. So there's 1-to-1. I didn't see a big change there. Let me go back down. 2-to-1. Yeah, there's my arrow was adjusting for me. So at a 2-to-1 scale, I watched it like auto adjust the scale. So I'm happy with that. So 3/4, it would adjust to that. And then 5/8, it should adjust, probably hardly even tell that it adjusted, but it did a little bit. Yeah, so this is good. That's an annotative block that's kind of doing the scaling work for me. It gets annoying to not do that, to figure that out, but now I'll place this back here. So that's good. I've got an annotative cutting plane line arrow. That I can bring into other. So if you make it once, right, like you can go to your design center and always pull that into another drawing and just like keep using that block. So, what I mean is right here, if I needed to use that on another drawing, I just go into my view. Like when I'm in that other drawing, I can go into the view And I go into this, I use this design, the design center a lot to toggle down through where I have it, but it'll like any drawing that you would open up, you go to the blocks and you'll have the blocks available to like just drag and drop in. I'm not going to drag and drop that, but yeah, you can just quickly add those anything you've created in one drawing to the other just by using this browser on the design center. So, oh yeah, that's so easy. That's on my view tab and right there. It's such this it's this powerful thing that they just buried in the it maybe used to be more obvious in other versions of CAD, but it's kind of buried in this version. And it opens up a browser into your computer. So it'll look through any file on your computer essentially. But what I would be looking for is in this case, I'd be like, oh, it's week 7, my Geneva Cam. I made that block and it's going to show up right here somewhere, maybe. Well, it doesn't. Why doesn't it? I don't know. It should be there. Maybe I haven't saved it yet. I don't even see my, I don't know why it's there. It's in my recents, but it's not. I swear this is the drawing I'm in. It's not this one, is it? I don't know. It should be there. Maybe I haven't saved this yet. Let me save. Now you have me wondering. Well, I'll worry about that later. That thing should be there. That little annotated block should show up. Why doesn't it? I don't have a refresh button here, do I? Maybe if I just X this out now. I don't know. I have all my other blocks.
That work for us when our computers reset every.
I think your blocks will still stay in your drawing. So if you've made so yeah, you'd have to be in your old drawing. Like I don't think your recent blocks will probably be wiped every night, so you won't have access to your recent blocks. But you should from here always have access to your drawing. And if you create a block in that drawing, it definitely lives there as part of its. Yep. So I don't know why I can't see that, but I can see it here. I haven't tried to move my cutting plane arrow. I don't know. That's kind of weird. That's kind of weird. Okay, I'll figure that out. Why it doesn't show up right there? Should. Okay, so let's dimension the rest here. So let's just jump in. So like I've said, I've got the answers are posted on Canvas how to dimension it, but challenge yourself when you're at this point of your drawing just to see if you can get them all without just looking and cheating. It's not really cheating, but it's just like a check for you to say, challenge yourself first to come up with the dimensions that you think it should have, and then you can double check the thing and say, what did I miss? And even that's what I do. Sometimes I'll go back and be like, did I get everything that I think I should have? But it just go through the practice of like size and location, and I start with overalls, right? So the overall size is uh, is going to be kind of a height and depth and a width, right? So here's my width and here's my height, and my depth would be only shown on the section view. So if I look at overall width here, well, it's kind of a diameter. The thing that's controlling the overall width is a diameter. The only place that the true diameter of what part size I need shows up is this front view. I don't have it here. This is because this section view is slightly shortened. Yeah. So if I this is yeah this if I measure this, this is not a great place to pull an overall in the in the rectangle view. Usually on diameters, it is best to look in the rectangular view for your dimensioning, but in this case, it's not actually the right dimension if I pulled this, and that's because when we section that out, we're slightly lower than the real like it is based off an 8-inch diameter, but in the section view, it shows it roughly. It just shows it a little bit shorter, and that's just the true nature of the part. So the best place for me, I think, to and I might just make sure I'm on my dimension layer. I think your annotate tab should already be like loaded with your dimension layer and the correct like an ASME 2 decimal. So I'm going to do a diameter in the front view for the overall, which is really going to capture my height and width in one dimension, right? This if I select this arc, this 8-inch diameter, this is what the height and width are based off of. So this is kind of doing dual dimensioning a little bit, like that's the height and width of the part is in one dimension. And I just need to know the depth of the part, which would either come from the top view or right side view. And so the depth of this part is the overall, essentially, if I'm thinking, is just from here to here. is an overall. I could pull it underneath or I could pull it over. So there's not like maybe one isn't better than the other because I really don't have another view that it's talking to. Normally I would probably pull that up, but if I think of this like locating this part, it's an 8-inch diameter on these crosshairs. I'm not going to locate these crosshairs maybe by coordinate point. I would if it was something that I was going to send to a machine and interpret it like a G code to a machinist. Maybe they want me to put my crosshair on a specific coordinate point. But in here, I'm not going to really locate it to a coordinate point. So really, my locating of that part is kind of done. It's an 8-inch diameter and it's 1 inch deep overall. And so I feel like I've kind of sized and located that. Locating it's just kind of in space, but it is based off these center lines. So now I'm going to just move to the individual parts of this and break it down. And I still view this as kind of like, well, what do I got going on? I've got kind of like a base plate with a lot of features on it. And and then I've got kind of an extended hub and an inner bore. So I've got a few different features to think about. Let's just stay with the main kind of base of this part and then go back and look and say, where have you already pulled from? You've already like anytime you throw a dimension on here, you're kind of already establishing datums, right? You're establishing control points. So in my mind, when I added the 1 inch, I'm kind of thinking of this like this right side surface here as becoming kind of a control point from I would view that as probably from the big surface over to the smaller surface as the way I'd want to pull that dimension. So one to me is kind of going right to left, only because that other surface is a little bit bigger. This left side surface is a good surface to pull from. That, it would be this hub surface right here. It could be a good datum. There wouldn't be an argument that it couldn't be a good datum. I'm just maybe using the backside surface of this entire part as a nice flat surface to pull dimensions from. So I'm already envisioning that I've already kind of control. I've already at least got one primary datum or one primary control point is this surface right here, and one is going from there to there. And then if I'm thinking about these other features, and if I have to dimension them, I'm going to think that I've already kind of established one. In the front view, maybe it's not clear what I've established, other than it's an 8-inch, and I'm kind of establishing like the axis of this as being a datum, because in order to pull an 8-inch diameter, I kind of need to know where the center of that is. And so I've kind of established the center lines are starting to be a datum here. And so if I think about what I need for, let's say, a feature, well, let's say one of the features of this part is these big curves, let's just pick this one first for no other reason than it's first. So I've got these big scoop outs. I need to know what they are. Well, I need to know their size first. So I don't even know. They're a radius though. They're not a diameter because they're just a partial circle. So for sure they're going to need, and I could pick anywhere on here. With my diameters and my radiuses, I'm a little less critical on where they are. I usually try to avoid the linear measurements that I'm going to get, and I try to like just keep them out of the way of the linear measurements. But I think I'm going to pull, I don't know. I think in my example, I just pulled it over here for no other reason than it was just convenient. And here's my radius feature, right? And it might pull out an arc like this. If it does, that's okay. Like, is there a better place to do this? I don't know. I think I used a jog dimension on mine. So if at the very bottom of you have this like jogged ability, and it really is associated with diameters and radiuses. I think it allows you to pick a center, like it says jog radius dimensions, when the center of an arc or circle is located off the layout and cannot be displayed in its true location. The origin point of the dimension can be specified at a more convenient location called the center location override. So I think this is a good candidate for this, because my center of this, if you remember, the center of this arc was why we have this far center, circular center line here. That's the true center there. So if I pick this arc, it says select the arc first, then specify the center location, which is there. And then I can maybe override this. So I don't remember how I did this, but you can jog this kind of funny. And the jog location, I don't know. Does it allow me to do, I don't know. I don't use these jog dimensions a lot, but I think you get like multiple points to move here. Like this, I think is the jog location, center of this. Oh, I don't know. I could mess with this for a while, but essentially what I want to do is put this part where I have an arrow and I'm not over my dimension line. So this might take a little bit of playing with. Select the arc, center location, override. I don't know. Is that the first center? Yeah, I think that's the center location override for this jog dimension. I don't think I love that. I want it to pull from the center. So these ones might take you a little time to get used to because they always do me a little bit. This is the center location. The dimension line location. And it might this actually might work better when it's just a little bit larger than I have. So I'll struggle with this a little bit. I don't like it for there. Another thing I could do, let me see my radius one again. See how just a normal radius would work. This isn't bad if I can just like pull it to the right point. This would be okay for me too. That's just me using the actual just radius and not the jogged one. I might be a little unclear of where it does where my radius is. It does show what I locate. It's locating from that to the center. I might like this to be pulled out. I don't know. Maybe I like it. Maybe I like it how it is. I drop this down a little bit. I slide that out anymore. It definitely likes the arc better. I might do that. It's a radius of one. There's more than one of those though. There's how many of those? There's six of them. So I feel like I've got to put the 6x in there. I think sometimes it's hard to determine which is the best function to use. You could also use a leader line too. Like it's not wrong to say a leader to point out this radius as well. And that one I could almost pull through the center out here. So let me think of another way that someone might dimension this. I definitely think it might be but I would want this to pass through the center potentially, but I don't want my leader to be like that. I'd probably want it to pass through the center, and then I could add the text to the leader, which would say 6XR. And when you're adding text to a leader, you get the option of the let me go back and actually add that leader in. So this would be okay too. This is maybe a good candidate of where you would use the leader for a dimension if you had trouble getting it how you want it to present itself, because you get access to the symbol. So if it was a diameter that you needed, you always have access to the diameter here and degrees and plus or minus. So you get access to a lot of other features, and we will use this pretty soon. There's a lot of quick features to get to for especially for different trades and what they might use more often than not, with our trade mechanical drafting being the top three, probably the most that I'm going to use, and almost not use the rest. But there is an other category here to add other, like you get into other font types here, but we'll come back to that. I use the leaders when I'm doing, I think we do on the next week we'll do a drawing where we'll actually pull from the other font layer. But for here, I wouldn't need that. I could just do like a 6x. In fact, I wouldn't really need that list because I don't need diameter, but it would be just 6x. Yeah. And then I would have R 1.50. So I'd want to write it the same way that the dimension would carry. So if you don't know how the dimension should present itself, you could always pop the dimension on, and then you have this leader that you could maybe adjust to be where you want it more so. I'm just giving you options on what might work better if you feel like you can't, if the jog dimension isn't working good, or if you don't like how the radius or a diameter dimension displays, we could convert it to a multi-leader. I'm going to keep mine as just the radius dimension. I might try to split the I don't know. I might worry about how it intersects with my center line later, but that's essentially a size. The location I probably need to locate with a diameter as well. So I'm gonna use the diameter of the center line of where those radiuses are as kind of a location based off. They're gonna be located based off the crosshair of this part. So that just like the 8-inch diameter is located from its center, this being the center. If I actually add this is a diameter dimension right here. And I'm going to put it kind of close to it. I'm going to put it like that these two are working together. Like that's the 9-inch diameter for the 6 by radius 1.5. Yeah. The other thing I could add here, I don't know if I would if I would change anything in my dimension style. I don't think so, but I could add, I think the crosshair there. I think because your dimension styles have the ability to add a crosshair, the center crosshair. It's just because I'm out here like in no man's land out here. I think I was just going to look through here to see if it has a quick toggle for to add the center mark. And so I've got my dimension just single selected, and I'm looking through here to say, is there like a if you look through your properties panel and just a dimension, it's pretty extensive control that you have. We can change whether it's annotative or that, the scale. Okay, it's matching my drawing scale. Center mark is none. So down here in lines and arrows, I could technically add a center mark to this one. I didn't want to add it to the entire dimension style because I want this to be kind of maybe just um, a one and done. I don't even know if it'll show up good though, because I feel like I've got crossing. I didn't even see it like really populate itself because I think it's being like overrode. If I turn off my center mark, sorry, I'm kind of like improvising a little bit here, thinking center. I don't think it really populated my center mark. If it did, none. I was hoping that would add my mark right there, but it won't. So, okay, that's weird. If it does, maybe it's on I don't know. If it's either there or it's buried, but I don't think it's even there. It's not a huge deal, but it would kind of help me know that that is associated with this center. I'll come back to this, but that is its size and location. There's six of them. The only thing that's not is I don't know, like if I have six of them, then I need to worry about their locations in relation to this location, right? So yeah, I've kind of got it sized and located on for one. It's on a 9-inch circle. Its radius is 1.5. But I don't have a location for if there's six of them, I gotta tell somebody where the other ones are located. So I'm going to drop a center line in through the next one, like through here. And I'm going to probably pull it through here, and I'm probably going to pull it beyond this because I'm going to pull the dimension out here. So I'm going to go a 1/4 inch beyond my last little feature there. And what I want to do is pull this dimension here because that's going to be kind of a location dimension that is associated with this feature. So now I'm going to go back to my dimension tab and do an angular dimension. Yeah, from this center line to this one. 60 degrees. And so I'm going to pull this out here. Right now, the way I have my diameters and stuff, I have to pull quite a ways out. So I might tell myself, well, I might move this one down and it might become some weird arc, or I might move it down here. Then this one I might even move down below now. It's only because I think I can bundle this a little bit closer than have it to go like stretch way beyond all those. Technically, I'd kind of be from here, like if I was using ASME, it might be from here and then be out like 375. I'm gonna have to add some text here, so maybe I'm gonna just plan on it being a little bit further out than that. But the text I need is 6x. So these are the radius. This is the diameter of the centers where they're located. This is the amount between each one. There's six of those. So I'm gonna add my 6x here as well. 6x. 6x by 60 starts to clash at 3/8 of an inch away. So I'm gonna just drag it out just a little bit further. 6x by 60 degrees. So that's kind of like a size and location for those features. Um, yeah, I think so. I might just move that a little bit that way. I don't know if I can break like this around that. I don't think I can. It'll kind of be overwritten there, but I'm not going to worry about that till I see what the line tape scale really looks like. So that is one feature. Now I've got the slotted features on this next one. So let's dimension those for size and location. So the size, I think on my print, which kind of caught me off guard because I kind of forgotten that I had sized it down here. And I had sized it with a width like this, like it's a 1/2 inch wide. And I'm going to pull this. I might interfere with my arrow and I might have to extend my arrow a little bit longer. That's okay. But I think I used this was a 1/2 inch wide. Um, there's how many of these? There's 6 of these as well. So I think I'm going to say that there's 6 of these. In my print, I don't know if I put typical, but I'm going to avoid that unless I'm not very accurate. I'm going to try to be a little more accurate on my print and say that it's 6 of these at a 1/2 inch. Um, that's part of the size. The other size might be maybe the overall. Well, I think I can locate the other size dimension might be where its center line intersects with this one, right? So this would help me like size. That's more of a location, I guess. So size is this by I don't know how long. It's going to function as its size and location as well. So if I add this diameter, and maybe I'll just point to this one and bring it down here because it kind of is in relation. It's kind of in relation to that 6x by 5. These are on 4-inch circles centers. So this functions as a size and location, just like this one has functioned like a size and location, and kind of how this is, yeah, how we're locating these. This is definitely a size and location. It's on this far out from center is where these kind of begin. They have this 1/2 inch wide, which includes the radius. So this is kind of like sized and located as far as I can kind of tell. Sized and located in relation to a center axis. So this is becoming more and more obvious that this is definitely a primary, if not a primary and secondary and a tertiary like control points on this part. So I'm almost thinking my X and Y axis are kind of like primary and secondary here because I'm pulling a lot of dimensions from center essentially. So that's size and location and amount, quantity of them. The other thing I could maybe add as a location is that it might be nice to know that these kind of like a keyway. I could see that one dimension maybe I was missing in my first one is just how far off a center it is, just to truly show, to make sure that it's not vague, that these are a 1/4 inch away from center. So this is going to extend out. So I'm going to join this real quick. I'm going to do like a join over here. I'm going to join. These were segmented lines at first. These were segmented. So I'm just going to join those. I don't know if those will join to that or not. Maybe they will. I'll join that and see if it will. And I think the arrows are going to stay independent, but I'm going to be able to maybe if I pull this now, I don't think I can do a double selection. Oh, I can just grab it from this grip. Sorry. I'm going to pull this out and away. Yeah, I think that one's going to have to be moved along with it. So I might move it momentarily. Give me my arrow somewhere. Yes, this to this. Okay. Just to move it out of the way. I will probably come back and bump these to their correct locations, right? Like 3/8 away from probably that last outside center line. And so I'll come back to those, but I feel like that's sized and located a little bit better now. I've added one additional dimension for the location off center, which is really locking in that this is definitely a control point datum this way. I'm going to need it anyway because this has a keyway, so I'm really going to establish this as a control vertical this vertical center line. Okay, good. Those are those features. Is there any more features? Let's see. Yeah, the next feature I work out on is the larger diameter circle here. So it's a feature. I find it over there as well. It's already got kind of it's already got a depth associated with it. It's 1 inch deep. So that's kind of its size. I don't have a diameter with it though. So because I've got a section view, I have a diameter. Even without a section, I would have picked up this view even in just a normal right side view. That my cylindrical shaped feature, while I could point out somebody might just jump to this really quick and add this diameter and call that sized, with this size being part of the size and that. I would say, well, I have it in rectangular view, so I think this one is a better situation where I'm going to pull this as a linear dimension for its diameter. Rectangular view, that's kind of the kicker for ASME. We like to do this. And this is a diameter though, so I need to add the diameter symbol in front of it. Diameter. So I'm going to forego this one. I say that's good, but I think the one I did second is best. So I'm going to delete that one. This is a better size. So now I have a hub diameter and I have a hub um, other size here, how wide it is. Those are the two sizes of it. The location of it is kind of based off center by using the diameter again. So I've got the diameter based off center. So I feel like it's kind of sized and located. And then I've got the inner bore to kind of think of now too. The inner bore is without the keyway. Maybe I'll just think of the inner bore first and its size and location. So it kind of breaks that rule of, so I'm looking at just the inner bore, not the keyway yet. It's another feature, but maybe I'll just look at, if the inner bore was solid, I would probably, it didn't have a keyway in it. I'd probably size and locate it over here. I would probably put my, its size is also this one. So this is doing dual units. It's the outer hub and it's the inner hub. They're the same depth. So this one is doing, it's carrying both of those feature dimensions. And then its diameter, I really can't grab here. I would like to grab it in this rectangular view, but I don't have, it's not this because that's got the keyway cut in it. And really, I don't have it over here in visible line. So I feel like its size might make the most sense to do as at a diameter right here. And maybe I'll just pull it somewhere up and out at 45 and off my part. It's kind of a big pull away here, but kind of bundling a couple. You can see that I kind of bundle dimensions. I try to keep ones that are alike close to each other. These ones are not necessarily alike, but I don't know. I already had a dimension here, so my eyes are already going to be looking here. So if I add this one over here, I'm just kind of, I think of like helping the viewer just make sense. And I'm going to use this as the size, that and that is the size of the inner bore because I just can't pull it here without adding like I don't have it. I just won't have it. It's not a visible line that I can pick up, so I just don't have it. What I do have is a key way to do it as according to ASME standard, which ASME standard likes us to know the vertical in this situation. The way to do that was, which we learned yesterday by doing the ratchet plate. They want to know this to the highest height here as a linear dimension. I'm going to pull it off this way. And I'm thinking of it being in between views a little bit. Like both of these are kind of in between my views. This one I need to pull way in. I don't need to be that far away. It's going to end up coming way closer. But so there's one way that we size a keyway. The other way we size it is this way and across, and then how far off center it would be. Even though sometimes the off center is dropped because it's understood. I'm still going to put it just for our size and locating mentality here. So it's going to be a dimension of its overall width here, and I can tell that I got to pull this one back. This one should come to this object edge, just based off how I pulled that. But here's my dimension now for its overall width is 0.36. I'm going to pull it above and beyond, probably out here. Probably gonna have to move that cutting plane line as well. 0.36, and then I'd like to say, like, I like to know how far off center that is right here. So it's from here to center is the other one I'm going to pull. And this one, I may have to just make sure that the data that I was given isn't less accurate than the data I'm using. Those are both 2 decimal place dimensions. So that's its size and its location. I feel like its location is kind of this one, that 0.18 is doing the locating. And then I've got a little bit of a mess to clean up there. So I will review the PDF for this. I don't think I've even pulled up the PDF yet on this. I just want to review them. Well, I can probably just take a look at the main class here, this one. The 3.6 by 2.3 keyway. So I just want to make sure that I'm not, I definitely have the 3.6. The 2.3 doesn't really apply to me here. So I'm not going to worry about being, I'm just going to make sure that 0.18 is half of 0.36. If it's not, then I need to maybe carry a different decimal place. But I think it is. If I have 0.36, divided by 2 would be 0.18. So that's just me doing a quick double check that these dimensions jive and they don't at 2 decimal places, they carry the same accuracy. Just be careful of that. So if I'm carrying one, yeah, I just needed to double check that that's truly half of that. If it's not, I need to carry a different decimal place potentially. This is good though. It's good. Size and located on keyway. I like it. What should have caught my attention is I know I'm missing a dimension because when I was thinking about the size of this plate, or kind of the main structure of this, not really the plate, but the thinnest section of this, I definitely have its size at 8 and its overall size at 1, but I never did add this other dimension, which is the how what the size. There is another size here that needs to go in there. And I'll add that at 0.375. So, and I definitely view that as pulling from this surface over to there, just like the 1 inch is pulling from there to there. So this is all pulling from the same surface. And I don't know if I've missed anything else, but this is how I would work. And then I would go back and check my cheater sheet and be like, did I miss anything that they didn't get? And maybe I would do that before I like do all my alignment and I figure out that I missed a dimension that's going to adjust everything. So I think this is pretty much about done, other than I need to add section headings. Yeah. So as you guys leave, what I'll do, those that are leaving, is I just need to title these headings. So when I jump back out here, I need to adjust, make sure I do my space adjustment. But what I have to do when a cutting plane line gets in there is, and I'll do it really quick, and then I'll worry about how perfectly placed it is. But when you do a cutting plane, it needs to know from point to point that you're cutting this through. And so we would label this with a multi-line text. It could be a single line in this case, but I always use multi-line usually. And then it wants to know where I'm going to place this. And I'm in the viewport doing this, by the way. I'll just place it here for starters and I'll move it where I need it. But it's going to be my large font type. So I'm going to change my font type, which you should have access to right here. There's a few different ones. I want to be the double size font, 0.2. And then I just wanted to say A. Like usually your first section you'll take on a drawing, it'll just be A for no other reason than it's just the starting in the alphabet. We label our cutting planes with letters in mechanical. So this is going to be an A, and then I'm going to make a copy of this because I need it to be from one point to another point. So I'm going to say it's from A to A. And these can go either on the side or in front. Like it's not real critical. They'll just be close to where the corner turns, where I turn that corner to show. So that's an A to A section. And that means that should have a view labeled on your sheet somewhere, section AA. So I'm going to make another multi-line text. I got to make sure I made this on, I made this on the center layer. That's something to watch for. Whatever layer you're on is where this is going to place. I don't want that to be on the center layer. I want it to be on text layer likely. It's just a piece of text. So I'm just going to push that to the text layer. I just noticed that when I went to do this again that I was on center layer. So I'm going to move to text layer now because I'm going to add a heading for this view. This is section AA. Section views can be moved out of orthographic alignment. They can just be placed on the drawing, where they need to go, kind of a removed section. So by titling it, it helps keep track of it. Mine's going to maintain an orthographic alignment, but I still would label it because it's not a normal right side view. It's actually kind of a special view. It's a section view. So we're going to name it. Section AA, and I'm going to do it with large font as well. So this is my usually my view labels are going to be large font, double the size. So this is section A-A, A through A. Sometimes those get underlined, and so sometimes we'll add an under. I usually will do a center justification of whatever my text is, but if I have more data underneath here, like sometimes you'll have a different section scale, and sometimes you'll have quantities or you'll have materials. Sometimes I'll underline that, and then I'll have like the things underneath it that might be like scale is the one I think of. If you're going to have a scale outside of the scale on the sheet, then you need to say that in the view. So sometimes I'll put an underline underneath my main heading, and then underneath it, I'll go back to my standard size text, 0.125, and start adding some of the details. In this case, I don't have to do that. It's just going to be a simple heading. If it's underlined, that's cool. If it's not, it's okay too. I don't think I've underlined my other ones, but I generally will place that and then just move it wherever it's, make sure it doesn't clash with anything. So what I've got to do now is clean up. So essentially when I come back out to here, I just need to like pull my cutting plane lines. Always make sure it just clears everything. Like there's no specific distance that has to go out away from everything. I just make sure it clears. So I'll decide that once I've got my dimensions placed a little more accurately, like the spacings on them. There isn't a lot to dial in here. All of my diameter and radiuses ones can kind of stay. The ones I'm looking to fix are probably the slot width and the keyway width. Fix those, maybe just 3/8 off the last outer center line. Then I'll adjust my cutting plane line, and then I'll adjust some of the section view spacings there. But then this one should be pretty close to done. Line type scale, I know I can see it needs to be fixed a little bit. And I'll probably drop my whole viewport down a little bit away from my revision block. So I've just got cleanup to do now, but I'll continue to do that before I end this video. And if you guys need to take off, take off. But otherwise, I'll keep finishing this. And then it'll be done, and we'll do V block tomorrow and some theory review. Heck yeah. So I think I'll fix these. These are the ones that are kind of bugging me here. These ones I will place like 3/8 away, I guess, 0.375. And then I'll space this one away from that 1/4 of an inch. So let's see here. That one, this one. Oh, sorry, 0.25 is what I'm going to do. Auto might work. Sometimes auto does a little funny when you've got a scale applied. So just be careful. I've noticed my auto on these wants to apply the scale. And I was looking if my dimension style or had, yeah, I don't know why. Just be careful. If you notice you're in a scale size and then you start using the auto on your like spacing, just be careful. I don't think it's working. I think it is applying the scale. So just watch yourself. If it looks like it went like way wider or they're not really, they don't look like the correct spacing, then just, you can just type in the space and that should auto adjust for you. But the auto button to me doesn't always apply the scale right. So just careful. So this is where I'm going to leave those. I just need to get this thing off of those. No particular amount, maybe a 1/2 inch away. And I might move that thing. It's hard to get a hold of those, and it has a weird grip. I think that's the grip. There it is. And I don't want that to sit on it. I want it to kind of sit off of it just a little bit. So there's yeah, this I feel like can go here. If I double click in here, I think I've got extra that I don't really need. Dial that in. But this to me can go in a couple different places. Like this, if that fits, that's great. If I get out of it and get back into it, if it's I don't want to go over there, single selection. If it fits better this way, this would be okay too. Maybe I'm not as maybe not there as much as maybe up a little bit. Oh, my snap to grid's driving me crazy. So watch your snap to grid. I feel like it. So this is okay, or right above it's okay. Just somewhere close to the corner turn, put your section label. If I had another section, it'd be BB, CC. You try to keep track of that as the drafter of which one, like what's the alphabet you'd use next on your next section. Or sometimes detail views will carry. We'll talk about those later, though. I'm talking about them now. But in mechanical drafting, you mostly end up with like some pretty simple, like regular views, I would say, and then you end up with a lot of detail and section views. It becomes more of your life in mechanical drafting that you do. In order to really truly dimension stuff correctly, it's probably got to become sectioned or detailed out to a little bit bigger. A detail is just where I can almost like zoom in and then do an additional scale up some feature. Like I could zoom into this keyway and just break out a section of it and do a detail view of that keyway. And so we haven't done any of those yet. This is our first section view, so I'll just keep it like that. And then I might pull these away the same. So I haven't decided if this is where my cutting plane is going to stay. I might actually pull it away a little further. It's a little bit compact here. Not that it needs to be this far away, but I haven't adjusted these yet either. So anyway, this is the perfectionism here a little bit. Trying to get them nice and cleaned up. So I'll use my spacer, but just for that to this, and I think I'll say that it's 0.25 away, like that. I like that. And yeah, I think this one's a little far away, so I think I'll probably stretch this in. I'll have to look. I never did look up the book, but in my mind, I'm thinking that these are roughly sometimes about a 1/2 inch away. I'm only 3/8 away, but a 1/2 inch seems to be like a good distance away. Here's my view label. I'm about 3/8, so that'll work. And then I'm going to move this thing by this base point up to this. Yeah. Yeah, that looks pretty good. I think I'm a little crowded here, so I think I'm going to pull this away about the same. I'm not sure why that one pulled out with it. Let me see what's going on here. This one is like moving with it for some reason. I think I'm locked in on a weird. Yeah, it feels like I must have like snapped a grip to grip there or something. So um Yeah. Or it could have been just how I selected something. Yeah, that to this. This I like a little better though. Yeah, yeah. Move it. A to A, A. The rest I'm okay, kind of happy with. I'll think about this in a little bit if I've got a little bit of conflict. And then, yeah, the other ones are all diameters. This one I'll move away though. It's a little bit tight with the normal, so I'll pull it away just a little bit. That one I already spaced. I just need to space the other one. 0.25, right? Still a little tight there. I'm going to pull it away a little bit more. Just don't want it to conflict. There we go. This I like. This one I didn't really space. I could though. Kind of from here, roughly there. Maybe I want the arrows inside of it like that, maybe. Yeah. Now I'm going to jump out and kind of adjust it on my sheet. Yeah, it's a good thing I didn't do 3/4. 5/8 is a good scale. I can just adjust this up a little bit and that'll show my. I think that looks really good. Take a look here. Turn off that snap trigger. Now I can look at my line type scales kind of hard and just decide what I want to change those to. So I'm back in here now. My line type scales. It's hard for me to see it through the grid a little bit. My old eyes. But
Hey, Matt,
yeah,
question.
yeah,
So, like, what bid with the 2025,
yeah. Right here.
would that be a times six or no?
I did do a times 6. So for this slot width here, 6 times. I didn't. I just because the other ones, nope. I just did it as one as locating this one. Oh, but you know what I need to do? I need to add. I'm glad you brought that up. I should add their what their degree measurements off of each other are, right? So I feel like the same way I look, you brought that up, and what's going to prevent me from having to do that is that I need to put in another like what are the degrees apart those are. They end up being the same degree here, but this is a different feature. You're thinking of the large arc here with this feature. I needed an additional 6 times. And so maybe I'm going to try to put that down in here and let's see if I can fit that. Good point.
3 degrees and did 12 times. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah. If you're coming off 30 off of maybe that's not a bad idea too, because yeah, yeah. Just think of mine as I'm pulling, like the reason why I chose where I put my 60 is because I'm thinking of this as kind of a datum, right? And I'm going to put my next one right here, thinking of the up and down as my datum. So make sure you're not maybe pulling 30 between one feature to the next feature. That would be like if you did like 30 from here though, and then there to the next one would be 60, and then you said whatever. Just think of where you're pulling that from, even if you're pulling the amounts. Like, so I'm strategically pulling the amounts from one of my main crosshairs, right? Like that was a thought that I had, is that the reason why I chose this is because for one, this feature is like off of a datum center, and then I can pull from it to that 160 degrees and say it's 6 times of those around. And it's all kind of based off this datum. I'm going to do the same thing here where I'm going to pull this one as my 60 degrees. 6 times around means I'm going to start here and go 6 times around, and it's going to be off of this datum. So however you're dimensioning it, just think of where does that pattern begin, and is the pattern where it begins, is it a good control point? And it's not just out there in space off of another feature. It's not dimension from feature to feature, but it's dimension from control point to feature. Yeah. Good. It makes me think. And I've got to add a center line to carry that out to here, I think is what I'm going to do. And I'm going to add that other. I was on the center layer. Yes, good. I had to make sure I wasn't. I hated that the dimension layer and the center layer are and the text layer all red, and it's hard to remember which one. Which, if you do them wrong, if you can't visually see with colors that you did them wrong, it's like sometimes you don't notice till all of a sudden my text is looking like it has lines through it. It's because it's a center layer. And the dimension layer is such a light layer, kind of like center line layers are. Okay, so I just need an angular dimension that I feel like is from this control point, this vertical. And so it's going to be out here. I'm going to probably bundle it out here. I might try to, I definitely have some, I'm going to have to adjust some spacings here again. But I could also pull it over this way. Maybe there's a little more space, but I'd have to pick this one. No, I can't do that. I got to do this one. Well, I could do it out here, and it would interfere less, but this is okay. I'll move my other stuff. I want this one here, I think. And I'm going to move this to the other side. This 4-inch is now super clashed. I'm just going to move it over here. It still has to do with all this information here. It's just right there now. I've got a little conflict here. I need to put this as 6 times. So I'll get that in there so I know how big it is, 6x. And so it would fit there pretty nicely. I just have an issue here. So I'm going to pull these just a little bit further. I'm going to go back and I'm going to back and double check my paper where I put it on my paper. I do have a little more room I can grow here, not conflict. These notes can come down. And so I actually have room to keep. What I think about a little bit when I start titling views like this, though, I do like those to kind of be as low as the lowest point. I'm not going to be able to do that here, and it's not the end of the world. But if I have space, um, sometimes and these are orthographically aligned. Sometimes my headings will come down and be kind of at the lowest point of the data. And so just for my own like cleanup that I like is the lowest point of this, my headings might line up with kind of the lowest point. So I don't have this jog, but it's okay here. I mean, I've got to have it here. If I can't bring my section heading down lower into my title block, and I don't want to bring this up higher because I do want to leave room for my revision block to grow. So to me, this is going to work. I'm just not going to be able to get my section kind of low enough to kind of be like, anyway. But it's not the end of the world because in the remove section, I would move that to a different place on the sheet and its heading would follow. Its title, I should say. But yeah. I'm just looking at how to clean this up and I'm going to get in there and do that now. So I'm just gonna have to break some of the rules here. I think I can keep my 1/4-inch one. It's mostly just that I need this to move this one and clarify out here. And then I just feel like I'm crowding this a little bit again, so it becomes another little micro adjustment here, which is annoying, but that's what separates those with OCD with those without, right? Or those really it just shows like good drafting skills is to do your good clean work and to try to keep things legible. Something like this. Yeah, this is good. I've got some overlapping here. These are extension lines overlapping a dimension line, so I might do my cut here. Cut this one out. I don't know if it will. It's really close to this, but I would like it to cut around this one. Yeah, it does. That's good. Remember, that's the priority one. It's a dimension line. This is just an extension line. So I've got it overlapping itself here as well. But that's all right. That's an arrowhead. That is a dimension line, though. I don't know if this will cut right to me, though. If this one will cut around that, I would do it. Yeah, it will. That's good. Technically, that's what's going on here, too, is this is the dimension line. This is the extension. Cut the extension as a micro detail there. I don't know if I've got, I'm going to double check that's going on up here, too, probably. Not as bad, though. Especially if I just move that a little bit further away for clear. Oh, I dropped that one down, though. It's the smaller dimension. It's the intermediate dimension. So I probably should replace the order here and say that this is the one that would come first. I don't know what I did there. I didn't do it. That's actually good. It does want to move closer. You're right. Oh yeah, that's cleaned up way better. And I'm carrying the 6 of those. Yes, both of them are based off of those good crosshair datums, those control points. Most everything is. Like almost every dimension ties back either to the center across of this or it ties back into that flat surface on the section view. So yeah, that's good dimensioning. This is better probably than I have posted. I haven't double checked that though, right? Like I feel like I'm happy. This is when you can go through and do your like, I'll go back to my print here. And I still need to do line type scales. I was starting that before I got distracted with Sky showing me that I missed a dimension. But I haven't gone back and cross compared this to what I said that is probably here. But let's see. I've got the keyway widths and located. I've got that one I pulled off. That's good though. I mean, this is a good dimension. This was a good place to pull that as well. I've got additional center lines through, and that would be okay too. Maybe they're unnecessary, but they get, you get a lot of crisscrossing like symmetrical looking center lines. I feel like I'm just going to leave mine as it is. I just pulled the ones that I wanted. It wouldn't be wrong to add these additional center lines. I mean, it doesn't look, they're very light lines, so they look good, but I'm just going to leave mine without it. But I've got that. I've got that. I didn't add this, and I didn't really add this fillet, and I didn't size the fillet here. So I need to make sure I add that there's a 1/4 inch radius unless otherwise noted. Yeah, I don't have to really add the unless otherwise noted. That's kind of generally understood. It's a nice, it's a nice little phrase to add, but it's kind of just that's kind of an understood statement. So I think I can omit the unless otherwise noted, but I do like to add that there is a radius if there's a radius. I think I'll say R.25, right? Radius and fillets are 2.5. That's kind of, and then you could say unless otherwise noted, but that's really the case of anything. Unless there's a specific note on here, then the radius is understood to be 1/4 inch. And so, that's fine. I don't think there's a good or better here. I mean, sometimes better in my mind is like, is more clear, like saying, oh, well, better to me would be point to it and call it out then. And then I can't miss that. And this sometimes we miss reading notes, but that's on the reader. So these are both good. I don't know if one's better than the other. Sometimes this is better when people catch this more. Even sometimes I forget to read the note and I miss stuff like that. But that's my problem, not the drafter's problem. It's captured here. This is actually a nice way to capture general notes. So I'll just leave that. That applies to that. And it doesn't really apply to this, but it could apply to this if you didn't know this, other than this is driving the same dimension. We learned that because I kind of missed that last time. But yeah, this is looking good. So I just need to fix line type scales, which I think I've gone up to like a half. And I don't think I'm going to add the additional center lines that I have in the original one. I think I'm just going to keep the ones I've got and just make sure they get turned into, yeah. Okay, see, Abigail. See if I can get all of them looking okay. Not too worried about the center one up and down because really the cutting plane line, I'm going to go back and into my drawing and put it as precedence. So one thing it will like print, it'll plot as precedence anyway because it's a heavier line weight. But I'm gonna fix these ones while I'm in here real quick. These are half scale or half. I use 0.5. At least that breaks them up. That's good. But what I'm saying is I'm going to go back into this and just do a quick line precedence here, which is I use this front to back or back to front. I'm going to bring this to front. I'm going to bring my cutting plane line to front, I think. That is the and I might change its line type scale. I might actually look at it on a PDF and see what it looks like for its line type scale. We haven't used that line before yet, so I'll Control P this thing. It should have the plot style already set up. And that's what it looks like. I might need to see if I can get that to pop. You can see how heavy it is. I think I'm going to adjust its scale a little bit and get a little more breakup between the short line and dashes, but it's going to plot like that heavy. And it's debatable on whether I should delete the center line out from underneath it. Technically, it's a center mark that I made, so when I delete that, I'm going to lose a lot of my center. I'm going to lose a lot of my reference points for my dimensions. So I'm not going to delete mine. It's going to be this really fine line that shows up underneath it, and I think that's going to look okay. Trying to see if I missed any other center line types that look like they're too coarse, but Yeah, I think one thing I will go do is just another micro adjustment here is come in here to these particular lines and make them maybe half as well. And then I'll take another look at that. Control P. Then I'll pop that up so I can see its line weight like that. If this still confuses you to look at it like dark, like or in colored, like really when we print these prints, they're going to be in black and white if we actually print them. And so I'll X this out for a minute and I'll change this to monochrome. Generally, the only thing you have to do to change the way we've formatted our styles is to go from the color that I like to see the line types for assignment purposes to a monochrome is what you might actually send this PDF to someone with. And if I preview that with monochrome, this is a little bit more realistic of what it would look like. So you can see that the center line under the cutting plane line doesn't really make a problem. I can kind of see it, but it's like that cutting plane line really takes precedence. It catches my eye. It's a pretty bold line. I don't, there's what it almost matches the boldness of the object lines. So if I zoom in a little bit, I can see that the object lines kind of snap a little bit bolder. So this will actually be how it really plots is like that. And so I think that looks pretty good. I can't see anything that looks like I've got a little interference here, but it's pretty minor. I think I'll just leave it because I've already struggled getting the dimension placed anyway. So I might work on that a little bit to find what metric prints, the way we set the dimension style is it pulls from the center and it includes the center in the dimension. I might adjust this one to do that for me for this particular dimension. I might just spot adjust that to say pull to the center so it's obvious to the viewer that that's the center out of that 4 or that 9-inch diameter. So it's kind of critical to know that. Somebody needs to know that it's about 4.5 inches over, or not about, but it is precisely 4.5 inches over here to where that center relationship happens. And then I can base my 60-degree pattern from that. So yeah, I like it. I'm gonna call this finished, other than maybe that one micro adjustment, but other than that, I think we're looking pretty good. I'll do one last double check to see if I missed anything from this. I got the one, I got the half, I've got that. I didn't put the overall size in here. It's maybe good. Maybe it's a nice to have dimension. Maybe it's not a necessary to have. It does show that it's like I could almost use it as a reference dimension, and we haven't done those yet, but that would be a parentheses dimension. So whether it's omitted or left, I would consider it a reference dimension if anything. So I haven't added that one. Maybe I'll throw it in there just because it's on my. It is a nice to know. I can tell. See, I did. If you zoom in here, I did spend the time to try to get a dimension that pulls from the center, and it makes that a little more clear. So I might mess with this just a little bit. I've omitted the center lines that I wasn't really pulling dimensions from, just cleans it up a little bit. And so, yeah, I definitely changed it. I do like where I'm headed now more than ever. And so I'll probably end up replacing the imagery with something that I'm liking this a little bit better. I'll X that out, cancel that for a minute. I'll do just a little more cleanup. I think I decided that I would add one reference dimension for the overall here. I'll bring it up here. I'm going to kind of bring it up and almost out of the way, like it's kind of like a less important than this. And this is how there is no reference dimension like dimension style. So what you do is you add a parentheses and we haven't done this yet, but I know you've read about that. That is considered a reference dimension. It's a nice pseudo dimension, but it's not like driving any. It's not a critical dimension. It's not something to base anything off of. If it's in parentheses, it is just for information only, and your part may or may not be close to that, but it's just like a quick spot check. But it really is like the least important dimension on here is what that says to you. Reference only. Don't do any inspections with it and it's and don't base any other dimensions from it at all. So you would never want to change it. Well, you could change dimension to reference dimensions, but they would all kind of be reference dimensions in that case. So um, anyway, that I like better that it's clearly a reference. And then this is the only thing I'm just still haven't been super happy about. But if I probably can adjust in its dimension style the way it pulls a center, but okay, see ya. Yeah. And if I find it, I'm going to end this video, but I'll find it off and I'll have it. So.